Good morning, class. Today I will be discussing learning plan for organization. There are three parts: organization theory, function of management, control tools, and budgetary controls. The desire of companies to increase sales and profits in a more efficient manner prompted management to adopt some form of a system. However, even with a system in place, management are still finding it quite challenging to execute them effectively. Today, I will be presenting two of the many theories that are still being used by our modern business environment. The first theory is scientific management theory of Frederick Taylor, also known as Taylorism. This theory is the most commonly methods adopted for blue-collar workers performing routinary jobs. To improve efficiency and profitability, employees are thought to be machine-like in some aspect of their work. A lot of franchising establishments like McDonald's, Wendy's, and KFC adopted this technique in their everyday business operations. I know from my personal experience, Shell gas stations that offers full services in the Philippines had adopted Taylor's system. The moment an employee sees a vehicle approaching, he guides them to the pump, greet the customer, ask what product they need, ask how much, then start pumping. When done, employees collect the payments, thank the customer, and guide them out. Many blue collar employees are also worried about working harder than their colleagues, or vice versa, that some employees typically adjust the way they work to compensate themselves and justify their earnings to that of others with his same level of responsibility. Managed typically use the concept of equity theory to address workers' feelings of inequity and bias in this present day situation. According to Bell and Martin, John Adams' equity theory is based on three assumptions: equity norm, social comparison, and cognitive distortion. Equity norm is where workers expect to be fairly compensated for the work done and in comparison to others with the same job descriptions. Workers tend to be upset when he thinks there is bias, but feel more satisfied when he thinks there is equity. Social comparison is where workers try to determine if their outcome is justifiable to that of others' inputs and outputs. A worker expects that other workers with similar training and experience as him will have the same schedule, pay raise, and promotion. If one was given higher pay for the same type of job that he does and the same experience and trainings, that worker would feel a sense of inequity. Cognitive distortion is where worker makes a mental adjustment to justify or reduce the imbalances, restrict their work contributions in proportion to what they are receiving, and or quit the jobs. Now, what are the significance of understanding these theories? One of the basic principles of these theories is the management functions. And these management functions basically outlines the manager's job. The most commonly cited functions of management are planning, organizing, leading or directing, and controlling. As what we have discussed in the previous chapters, planning is the setting of objectives and finding the ways to achieve it. Organizing is the development of organizational structure and the allocating of human resources to accomplish the goal. Directing or leading involves influencing others to attain the goal, and controlling that involves ensuring that performances are consistent with the expectations and does not deviate from the established standard targets and plans. Control is necessary to help management check for errors and be able to correct them before it becomes problematic or before it gets out of hand. According to Ortega and Lin, control is in general helps minimize inventory variations, lessen the demand amplifications, and optimize ordering rules. There are several controls that management can use. Daft named a few of them. Feedback control that involves four steps: establishing standards of performance, measuring actual performance, comparing performance to standards, and taking corrective action. This control is something I personally use on a day-to-day basis. My eldest son has a severe persistent asthma, so I monitor his respiratory conditions with the use of a peak flow meter. As soon as he blows into that apparatus, it measures his expiratory flow. When he is feeling well, oftentimes his output will be in the best category. If he starts to be a little symptomatic, it will read at the normal range. At this time, I start to give him his daily maintenance to give him back or to get him back to his best condition and prevent him from further decline. However, even after giving his daily inhaler, he is still showing a downward trend and his condition starts to worsen, meaning in the poor range. I will start giving him the more aggressive medications. If his condition continues to decline despite all those additional meds, I will then send him to the hospital for admission. The balance scorecard. This is the monitoring of all the aspects of the business to include financial performance, customer service, internal business process, and potential for learning and growth. Financial performance is how well the business is using their assets to generate income. Customer service is basically calling for customer satisfaction. Internal business process, which focus on production and operation that can possibly affect customer and financial outcome, like the supply chain management. And the potential for learning and growth, which focus on how well resources and human capital are being managed for the company's future. Open book management. This management includes employees in every aspect of the business for improvement. This is a decentralized mean of control that allows employees to develop a deep understanding and appreciation of the overall business. Because of the amount of thought that goes into creating such a detailed business plan, it's important for brainstorming to include a diverse group of people to develop a well researched plan. Encouraging active participation in the business planning process among all employees helps managers manage better while fostering a culture of trust, autonomy, and accountability in the workplace. Now, TQM techniques. This is the management approach to long term success through customer satisfaction. This includes quality circles, benchmarking, Six Sigma, quality partnering, and continuous improvement. Quality circles is composed of about 6 to 12 volunteer employees that meets regularly to consider ways of resolving problems and improving production in their organization. Benchmarking is the continuous process of measuring and evaluating products and services against the standard or competitors for improvement. Six Sigma, is a management philosophy developed by Motorola that emphasizes setting extreme high objectives, collecting data, and analyzing results to a fine degree as a way to reduce defect in products and services. Quality partnering is where all parties agree from the beginning in a formal structure to focus on a creative cooperation and work to avoid adversarial confrontation. It assigns dedicated personnel who works alongside others to identify possible opportunities for quality improvement. The basic assumptions of partnering are trust, collaboration, commitment, and communication. Continuous improvement is the ongoing effort to improve products, services, and processes. These efforts can seek incremental improvement over time or breakthrough improvement all at once. Budgetary control is the set of financial and performance goals with budgets, compare the actual results, and adjust performance as needed. Expense budget. This includes anticipated and actual expenses, where the management monitors actual expenses versus the budgeted amounts to measure efficiency. Revenue budget is the comparing of anticipated versus the actual revenue. Management should investigate variances as revenues below or above the budget signals some room for improvement. Cash budget is an estimation of the cash inflows and outflows for the business in a specific period of time. This control method assesses its ability to pay its current obligations. Capital budget is the planning process involving long term investments like new machinery and buildings to enhance profits. And the zero based budget is where expenses starts at zero and every expenses must be justified for each period. Now, financial control. Financial controls are the policies and procedures put into place by a business or organization to track, manage, and report its financial resources and transactions. That included liquidity ratio, activity ratio, profitability ratio, and leverage ratios. From my personal work experience, to monitor the borrower's financial health, we collected 3-year financial statements and then averaged them. Current assets are the current cash, accounts receivables, inventories, or anything that can be converted to cash within a year. Total assets include current assets plus their building, their machinery, the book value or intangible assets, and so forth. Current liabilities are the accounts payable to suppliers or any current obligation that needs to be paid within a year. And total liabilities includes the current liability plus whatever they owe to other lenders like the banks or suppliers that does not mature and does not need to be paid within a year. Net worth is the current the business value after deducting total assets from the total liabilities. Debt to worth is also known as the financial leverage, is used as a standard for judging a company's financial standing. When examining the health of a company, it is critical to pay attention to the debt equity ratio. An increasing trend is a dangerous trend. Lenders and investors usually prefer low debt to worth ratios because their interests are better protected in the event the business decline or the business fail. Debt to worth ratio is calculated by dividing total liabilities by the net worth. In general, a high debt to equity ratio indicates that a company may not be able to generate enough cash to satisfy its debt obligations. However, a low debt equity to equity ratio may also indicate that a company is not taking advantage of the increased profits that financial leverage may bring. Current ratio is the ability of the company to pay its current debt obligation, typically within the given year. This is calculated by taking the current asset and dividing it by the current liability. With the global trends, many companies are responding to the competition by adopting a new control mechanism. International quality standards are criteria or rules set by the organizations that help determine compliance across national borders. These rules make it easier to conduct business on a level playing field and also allow more collaboration by overcoming local or regional constraints. A number of organizations have taken the lead to set, monitor, and manage these standards. The most influential group that monitors global standards is the International Organization for Standardization, or ISO. The ISO helps define a consensus among participating groups, such as national standard institutes from over 160 counties and various industry associations. The 18,000 and still growing number of consensus points define standardization rules around the environmental issues, telecommunication guidelines, and product designs. Corporate governance is a system of rules, practices, and processes by which a company is directed and controlled. Corporate governance essentially involves balancing the interests of many stakeholders in a company. This includes its shareholders, management, customers, suppliers, financiers, government, and the community. Control methods are put in place deadlines to minimize errors and to ensure overall success. It is incredibly important to set these types of control, especially in today's turbulent economy, to avoid mistakes that could cause us to lose clients or waste money on unnecessary expenses.